Hey campers, I'm Mary, she, her, coming at you from Girls Rock Camp Houston. I currently work at Guitar Center and I play drums in a band called Nervous Habits, but today we are playing guitar. I am going to teach you guys some basics, just some beginner things to help you out when you're picking up a guitar for the first time. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Alright, so before we get started on actually playing the instrument, what we're going to do is we're going to work out some muscles to help us get a little bit more acquainted and work some things out before we start making chords. So generally what I always recommend is stretching out your arm muscles and your finger muscles before you get to playing the instrument. It's really important. You don't want to hurt yourself. It's already going to take some dexterity and time as you play the instrument to kind of build up those muscles and kind of get your hand to do some things that it's probably not familiar with doing. What I always recommend is you're going to stretch your arms out. So both arms you're going to want to put out, lock your elbows in place, put those out, and just put your palms up. You want to do that, so what that does is that's going to stretch your forearm muscle and get that kind of really nice and worked out, and you can just let it loose. So then put it up, put your palms up, and that's going to help stretch out those muscles for you, and then feel free to let them loose. Because whenever we get into playing the guitar, it's really important to not stiffen up, okay? So what's important is keep loose, stretch out those muscles, and then we'll get started to playing. The second part of the equation is your fingers. So your fingers, of course, you're going to have your fretting hand here, and you're going to have your strumming hand when you get a pick going. So whenever you stretch your arms like this, take one of your arms and literally just take your fingers and gently bend them back towards your wrist, okay? Do it very slowly because you don't want to overextend it, you don't want to do it too fast and hurt yourself. So it's important when you have this palm up, just take your finger and gently push it back. And you're going to want to do that with each one of your fingers on both hands. So that way you'll get all warmed up. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do that, stretch out those muscles, get your fingers kind of ready and stretched and ready to go, and then we're going to get into some playing. Alright, so now that we're all stretched out, we're actually going to work on getting some tuning going and just familiarizing you with the strings, right? So the first part of the guitar is your strings, and tuning is going to be essential in order for you to play music. It'll help you learn your ears so you can make sure you're making the chords in the right places and that everything feels okay and sounds okay. On the guitar, we have 6 strings, right? And they're labeled. Each one is tuned to a note. So we're going to start from the thickest string to the thinnest. And the first one is E, second one is going to be A, third one is going to be D, the fourth one is G, the fifth one is B, and the sixth one is E also. So there's 2 E's right here. And there's a common phrase that I feel like every guitar player and teacher has learned and used throughout the years that help you remember what those strings are called. And that's Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. Everybody knows that. If you're a guitar player and you're a guitar teacher, it's kind of funny, but it sticks with you and you learn each string and what it's called. So, that being said, we're going to go into hearing those and making sure that we're in tune. Okay, so now I've got my amp turned on, I've got everything plugged in. So what I'm going to do is literally just play the notes. We can try to match pitch. There's also several ways you can get a tuner. You can buy a guitar tuner at any guitar store. They're going to have those in ample supply for you. As well as there are online tuners, there are apps that you can download on your phone or your iPad that can help you stay in tune. So the first thing is we're going to associate the notes to that sound when you're in tune. So your top string is your E, right? Next string is your A, right? Next one is your D. Okay? Then we've got your G. And then we've got the B. And lastly, little baby E. Cool. That being said, if your guitar sounds like that, I'm going to give you some time to use a tuner so you're all tuned up, and then we're going to move on to the next phase. Okay, everybody, so now that we're all tuned up, we're going to work on some hand placement real quick to make sure you have your hands in the correct place to start making music. So with my left hand here, which is going to be on the neck, so this is the neck, we're going to put our thumb right kind of on the middle of the back of the neck. So I'm going to lift it real quick so you can kind of see. We want it right here. That's going to leave you plenty of ample space to make sure your fingers can get around the other side of the neck and be fretting chords. So what is fretting? These little boxes that you see on the neck, those are frets for all intents and purposes. We're going to be utilizing those when we make our chords. These little metal bars are your actual frets, but these little spaces in between in these squares, when I say frets, I'm going to mean in between those things. On the other right hand, we're going to have our pick. And so anytime you're looking to make sure you have your pick held properly, you're going to want to have your fingers do the OK sign. Okay, so do the OK sign with your right hand, and what you're going to do is you have the tip of your pick, right? Hold it by the tip. You have your OK sign, and just slide it in there like that. Okay, so it's going to look like an OK sign. It looks a little weird right now, but when it's facing towards the guitar, you're right on the right track. That being said, make sure you're positioned well. We're going to have our back of our thumb down here near the end of the neck here, so down on the lower position. And then from there, we're going to get to making some chords. Okay, so now that we're in it, where we need to be, we're going to go through and make some chords. Okay, I'm going to do just 3 chords, and we're going to practice doing some strumming patterns along with the chords. Like I mentioned, you want to have your thumb kind of positioned to the middle of the back of the neck. And the first chords we're going to do is A. And so that all happens on the 2nd fret. So we have fret 1, fret 2, and we're going to incorporate our first 3 fingers, our index finger, middle finger, and ring finger, to make actually all 3 of the chords that we're going to be doing today. The A chord is going to be right, you're going to put your first finger right on this D string. So if you go all the way down to the 3rd string in that 2nd box right here, you're going to put that first finger right there. The next one is going to get positioned right underneath that one in the same spot, just on the next string down, and then your ring finger is going to tuck right under that one on the next string down. And so whenever we do that, you want to apply just enough pressure. Okay, so applying just enough pressure will give you a clean chord. And it's very important, if you don't put enough, it's going to kind of sound... There's a clean A. So there's your A. If there's not enough pressure, it's going to sound muffled. We don't want that to happen. So just enough pressure. Okay? So practice that for me a few times, and then we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, now that we have conquered the A chord, we're going to move on over to the next one, which is going to be the D chord. Going to make this as simple as possible. We're still going to utilize these first 3 fingers. So your index finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger. We're going to go back to the 2nd fret where we initially made the A chord, and we're going to start 1 finger at a time. So your first finger is going to go right here on the G string, which is your 3rd string down from the bottom. It's going to rest in that 2nd square, okay? We're going to take your middle finger, and this is a tricky one. It's going to skip that string, the next one down, and it's going to hit the bottom. So you're going to put that on the last string, still on that same square, but it's going to be on the last string. And then your ring finger is going to swing on over to the 3rd fret, or the 3rd box here, and it's going to hit that string that we missed. So you're going to have, like I said, your index finger on the G, the 3rd string down. You're going to have your middle finger, which is going to be on that very last string in that same box. and then your ring finger is going to swing on over to the 3rd fret and hit that string in the middle that we skipped. So, and if you do it properly, it should sound like this. And really, only focus on strumming the last few strings. You don't have to go all the way down. Just strum the last few, and you're good. And make sure to apply the right pressure. So remember, if you don't press hard enough, it's going to sound like that. So make sure to apply a good amount of pressure, and that's how it should sound. So now let's move on to the next one. Now that we've got the D chord out of the way, we're going to go into the E major chord. So for consistency, we're once again using these same 3 strings, but we're going to position them, of course, in a little different way, and we're going to use these thicker strings that are closer to your face up here. So, as we did before, I'm going to change things up a little bit. I like to start with the ring finger first on this guy, and that's going to hit in that 2nd box, and it's going to be on the A string. Okay, so if you can see that, that's where that's going to go. The middle finger is going to go right underneath it in that same box. And then your 1st finger is going to go in that 1st box, the next string down. Okay, so if you're looking at it, you've got your ring finger that's up on top, your middle finger that's down on the next string below it in that same box, and then your index finger is in that 2nd box right there on the next string down. And on this one, feel free to strum all of the strings, and it should sound like this. Awesome, right? So make sure you do that pressure, and just go ahead and strum all of the strings with your pick. And that's the E chord. Okay, so now that we've got those 3 chords, we're going to work on rhythm, timing, and just practicing those chords. So whenever you learn a new chord, you really want to strum it over and over again. Helps build that muscle memory. It's going to help you get acclimated to the fingerboard. It's going to help you feel more comfortable holding a pick and just practicing your timing and rhythm. So we're going to go back to the A chord, which, if you remember, your first 3 fingers right in between these 2 boxes, all scrunched up together, where you have your D string, G, and B all scrunched up together, pressing down on that. And we're going to do an 8 count. So it's simple. You're just going to strum and count 8 times. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Simple. Do it as slow or fast as you want to, but make sure that you're strumming and counting at the same time. So you keep, whatever pace works for you. If you feel like you need to go slower, go slower. If you feel like you want to speed demon through it, go for it. But as long as you're strumming and counting at the same time, and your counts are in motion with your strokes. So we're going to go through that one more time, just so that y'all have that implanted. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then when you're done, mute your hand. This is called muting the strings. If you run your hands over the strings, that stops it in between you're playing. So, moving forward, we're going to do the next ones also in counts of 8. So, get ready to do the next chord, which is the D chord. So, remember, you have your 3 fingers positioned. First one on this G, your middle finger on the very last string. Remember, we skip a string. And then your ring finger is going to go all the way to the 3rd fret and hit that middle string that we skipped, right? So now let's work on an 8 count of D. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Easy, easy. So, one more time, we'll do another 8 count, real quick, on the D chord. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. Awesome job. So, lastly, we're going to do our E chord. So, going back, we're going to hit those top strings, and remember, we're going to start with your ring finger on the A. That middle finger is going to go right underneath in the 2nd fret, and then your index finger is going to go in that first box on the bottom, the string underneath those two. So now we're going to go do an 8 count of E. So ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. So moving forward, each one of these chords you can actually transition from one to the other. And that's kind of the next step into crafting a song, learning how to play one. Really, a song's composition is based on just a bunch of chords put together in special places that design a melody and a structure in order for you to write a song or even learn to play one. So just for fun, if you do all 3 of these chords together, you can start to develop a rhythm. So I'm going to do a little transition that's just the A, D, and E chords together. So, and I'm just going to do two times per chord. So. And I just go back to the A. So you can literally practice as you get done with your warm-ups and doing each chord individually. Try to see how quickly you can get from one chord to the next, because each one will actually flow into the other, and then you have a song. So there you have it. That's just some beginner 101 basics on learning how to play guitar, and should be set to go. Thanks.